in council chambers. Excuse me, we're started. And the reason that we're a little bit late today is that we just had our annual general meeting, which went right until 2 o'clock. So we just needed to switch gears for a minute, and that's why we're a little bit late starting. So I'll call the meeting to order, and first up is the adoption of some minutes, the Committee of the Whole minutes on June 4th, 2018, and the regular open minutes of June 4th, 2018. So could I have a motion? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, I know, put it there and I'll remember. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you. Business arising from prior minutes, no. Introduction of late items, nothing. So we need a motion to adopt the agenda as printed, please. Councillor King, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thank you. First up is some water matters, and that would be to report on expenditures payable for water councillors and council approval, and to approve water district cash requirements to June the 18th in the amount of $27,381.46. Councillor Ray and Councillor Morera, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next is the Okanagan Basin. Let me see, where is it? Here it is. Find it in here. Water District, Okanagan Basin Water Board. And I just want, because I'm on the director on that board, I just wanted to speak to a couple of the things that are on here. And we met this time at our last meeting last week at the Summerland Gardens. And I'm horrified to say that I've never been there before. It's up behind the Summerland Research Station, and you go up the hill. It's beautiful. We met at the superintendent's house, and I think it was built about 100 years ago. And the gardens up there all have water-wise plants, and so they use the absolute best plants for this area. And I was quite amazed. As a matter of fact, they sent us a list of some of the plants that were there that are planted. And because one of the people that was there gave us a little tour. And they also have a beautiful big lawn area with a garden in the background. They rent it out for weddings, and I think it's $25, which just amazed me. Anyway, if you have never been up to the Summerland Gardens, it's worth a trip the next time you're up there. Some of the lake water monitoring, we had a report from Mike Sokol, who's BC Minister of Environment and Climate Change, talking about in various things. He says the phosphorus levels in the lake have gone down over the years, but they're still quite concerned about the endocrine disrupting compounds, pharmaceuticals, and personal care products, and of course the potential infestation of zebra quagga mussel. So we don't want it to happen, but we're working hard, everybody is, to make sure that hopefully it doesn't. Water management program, two of the big things the OBWB does is the WaterWise program, Make Water Work and Don't Move a Muscle. And you will see people from Oasis and from OBWB come down and take part. I think they're going to be there on July the 1st down at Gyro, and sometimes they come to our markets on Main. So it's always interesting to go to Okanagan Basin Water Board meetings, because we often have experts in the field about things. Did you have a question? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah.
OBWB.ca is an incredibly informative website. Now that our flooding threat is somewhat over, we did open up our lake to boating, recreational boating again recently. And the mussel infestation needs to be stopped in our community. This website has some awesome information about it. It also has information there that you can apply in your personal lives. So I would like everybody in this room, when you leave, tell at least one person to visit that website, and hopefully everybody within a 4,000 kilometer radius of Osoyoos will look at it and gain some knowledgeable information about it. If we get those mussels in our lake, every person in this community, their lives will be changed profoundly and negatively. So it's very, very important that everybody take the initiative to do something and become very knowledgeable about the prevention of it. So that's a great resource. Only takes a few minutes, and it's got lots of powerful information in it.
Thank you very much. And there is the report on our agenda today, so it's there if you want any more other information. And Councillor Campbell recently attended the WaterWise program up in Kelowna that was put on by OBWB, so thank you. Do we need to have it received? Could we, a motion please, Campbell, King, to receive this report? Thank you. Next is a letter from the Desert Center. Should I read this, Mr. Romanko? Does that make sense? Yeah?
Your choice.
Okay. So, Desert Center Osoyoos. Dear Mayor and Council, on behalf of the Osoyoos Desert Society, I would like to extend our deepest thanks to the Mayor and Council for providing funding for a new interpretive building at the Osoyoos Desert Center. Thanks to the $40,000 provided by the town of Osoyoos, and that came from resort municipality funding. It's now feasible for the Desert Society to raise the balance of the funding needed to purchase a new modular building. The building will provide a critically needed replacement for the aged trailers currently housing the center's interpretive exhibits and admission area, and will create a welcoming gateway to the endangered habitat showcased at the Desert Center. Most importantly, will make the site's future operation possible and ensure the Desert Center is able to continue to play a vital role conserving one of Canada's most endangered ecosystems and educating nearly 10,000 visitors a year. The Desert Society is incredibly grateful for all the support you've given us over the years. You've had a very positive impact on our efforts and contributed a great deal to our success. We greatly appreciate our partnership with the town of Osoyoos and appreciate your support of the interpretive building project. Thank you. And that's from Denise Eastleck, the Executive Director. So we need a, thank you, Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, that we receive this. All in favor? Thank you. And next is the Council Indemnity Bylaw. Is that you, Mr. Zackel?
Yes, thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before Council is Council Indemnity due to federal changes in taxation. So council remuneration is established through Council Indemnity Bylaw 1221. This new bylaw being brought forward for Council's consideration is due to changes in the 2017 federal budget. Currently, Town Council remains under the provision that 1/3 of the remuneration is being treated as expenses related to carrying out their duties as a tax-free allowance, and 2/3 of their council remuneration remains taxable. The 2017 federal budget eliminates the councillor tax exemption. It states as follows: remove the tax exemptions for non-accountable expenses, allowances paid to members of the provincial and territorial legislative assemblies and to certain municipal office holders. This exemption is only available to certain provincial, territorial, and municipal office holders and provides an advantage that other Canadians do not enjoy. Further details to the 2017 federal budget states: the reimbursement of expenses incurred in the course of carrying out their duties of an office or employment is generally not a taxable benefit to the recipient. By contrast, a non-accountable allowance for which an individual does not have to provide details or submit receipts to justify amounts paid is generally a taxable benefit. Municipal office or officials may, however, receive a non-accountable allowance for work expenses that are not included in computing income tax for purposes. Budget 2017 proposes to require that non-accountable allowances paid to these officials be included in income. The reimbursement of employment expenses will remain a non-taxable benefit to the recipient. In order to provide affected organizations more time to adjust their compensation schemes, this measure will be applied to the 2019 and subsequent taxation years. Attached is a spreadsheet that shows the impact to Mayor, Council, and Water Council with the new tax rules taking effect in January of 2019. To ensure that Council's take-home pay remains revenue neutral, an increase to the following funds would be required in the 2019 budget. So our general fund would be increased by $3,778.46. Our sewer fund would be increased by $2,099.15. And our water fund would be increased by $3,348.61. Council Indemnity Bylaw 1345 is being brought forward for Council's consideration. Implications under community is to ensure elected officials who are representing their community are treated fairly. From a budget perspective, a total increase of $9,226.22 to the 2019 budget to ensure Council's take-home pay remains constant. Significant dates: the changes would take effect January 1st, 2019. Under sustainability, ensure Council is not adversely affected by the new tax rules that take effect in 2019. And the two options that I have before Council is to give first three readings to Council Indemnity Bylaw 1345-2018, and option 2 to not make any changes at this time. So recommendation for myself is option number 1. This keeps Council's take-home pay at the same level after the new tax rules take effect.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel. Anybody? Go ahead. You're making a motion?
Motion to give first three readings to Council Indemnity Bylaw number 1345-2018.
Are you seconding that? Is there anybody who would like to speak to this? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Well, this has the potential to be highly controversial because it seems on the surface that it's, how can I put it, a selfish decision if we decide to go ahead with this. One of the benefits to British Columbia legislation is that we are required to make a 5-year business plan. And that plan is not just fantasy numbers that we put in on a spreadsheet to see where we think we might be in 4 or 5 years down the road. They are actually based on projects that we have in our community, things that are pending, some things that we want to finish up, and we place those things so that we can have a view of what our financial status can and should be well into the future. That 5-year business plan is updated every year, and we're on top of it, not because we have to, but it's a report that we do because it's meaningful and very important in analyzing how our future is going to be. We just had our AGM, and an important part of our AGM is our financial numbers, and I'm going to stick my neck out and say we're doing really good in our community. Our debt ratio is low when you compare it to many other communities. And when you apply where we are now and where we think we're going to be in 5 years, this increase that we're talking about in this particular report, I feel personally is manageable.
Thank you. I'm going to not agree with this option. I think that about a year ago we discussed council remuneration, and we did provide an increase to all of council. Not a lot, but it made a difference. So I'm not sure that this is the right time for us to be considering that. I would vote against it. But Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'm going to speak in favor of the motion, knowing I won't be here at that point in time. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that coming onto a council of our size, being 4 councillors and a mayor, to have that position be truly impactful, you'll engage on many committees, whether it be healthcare, education, lake water, downtown revite, etc. And I look at the, maybe the perception of mayors and councillors twice a month sitting in chambers for a day and looking at that remuneration package. But what I don't think the public sees is the amount of other engagement and meetings we deal with as councillors, the committees we sit on, the traveling we have to do to neighboring communities while being on those committees, the public engagement we deal with day in and day out, well outside of council meetings. I don't see this. Yes, it's an increase in pay as far as the budget goes, but it's important to note it's not an increase in what these councillors are taking home for the job they're doing. Seeing that this council and hopefully future councils will be more engaged in the future with things that affect our community, and I'll use education as an example, where this council has been much more engaged with the school districts and understanding the impact on the community and the ins and outs of the budgets in that school district has put us in a much better place moving forward as far as risks to our community and school closures. As one example, healthcare being another one, where this administration and council has gotten involved in the delivery of healthcare for our residents in this community, and that's taken efforts, time, meetings, research, etc. I just wouldn't want to see the earnings that I believe councils work hard for. I'd hate to see those that take home be less than what it is now. So I'm speaking in favor of the motion while making clear that I won't benefit from it.
Good. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to? Councillor Rhodes.
So I'd like to debate the issue with Mayor McCordoff a little bit. I'm the first one to, and as I said previously, yes, this is an increase to our budget every year. There is no doubt about that. How we gain personally from this is somewhat dependent on what your personal tax situation is from year to year and that kind of thing. But I don't see this as being any kind of an increase in the size of the payment that we'll get every month from the town. I mean, we have to understand that a person's net worth at the end of the year is depending on many, many factors, and this is one of them. And people that have multiple sources of income and those other kinds of things, well, we don't want to get involved in that, but certainly this is not ever to be construed as an increase in pay. At best, it's a neutral financial transaction. And regrettably, and it's important that everybody understand that this is not our municipality that is doing this. This is a situation that was downloaded to us, and we get to bend our ways and means and how we do things because of a higher power imposing this on us. And I just don't see this as being a personal increase in salary at all in any way, shape, or form.
I totally understand all of the points of view. I have to vote for the way I feel personally, and that's why we have 5 of us on here, and we can certainly have several people that with different points of view. We're kind of like The View on TV. So I understand it. Councillor King, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I could go back to the staff recommendation of 1 and Councillor Rhodes' comments that it's not an increase in pay. It still just gives you net pay for the amount of work we do. So chances are I would definitely support this.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Just for clarity purposes, because I don't want to leave here feeling bad, I was not criticizing your decision. I was debating it.
No, that's okay. I get it.
What were you worried about there? Sent to the principal's office?
Well, he might be. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to give first three readings to the Council Indemnity Bylaw number 1345, 2018. All in favor? Against? Thank you very much. That's passed.
That's my first three readings.
Next is the zoning amendment bylaw, and that would be Ms. Sana, our senior planner. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Do you want us to read all this as well? Oh, perfect. So the purpose of this report is to request that Council consider zoning bylaw amendment number 1085-106, 2018. Overview. Site context. The property is situated in a Buena Vista Industrial Park, as shown on attachment 2. The property was the subject of a building permit application 2009 for the 1,239 square meter plumbing and heating and office building, and a development permit application for the form and character of an industrial development, DP 0804. It is noted that a 2008 development permit included a dwelling above the office, but that project was abandoned when the applicant submitted the building permit in 2009. As such, the existing building does not contain a caretaker suite. The second floor consists of a mezzanine and an office storage space. The proposal, the applicant is applying to add a land use to the property in order to provide on-site accommodation for the owner or caretaker to improve security. The applicant wishes to have a standalone detached caretaker dwelling unit, a site built, or a manufactured home not exceeding 100 square meter in size as per the site plan. The policy context for zoning bylaw number 1085/1998. This is a text amendment. The text amendment is needed as the M1 General Industrial Zone only permits one dwelling unit to be located within the industrial building and limited to a maximum of 93 square meter size. In terms of the proposed manufactured home, zoning bylaw number 1085 defines manufactured home as the following. And the definition is also referred to as CSA A277 factory-built home in this bylaw, and it means a dwelling unit which is factory-built according to CSA A277 standard in either one complete unit or a number of modular units or panels, and which is assembled on site or placed and supported by a perimeter foundation. Therefore, should the rezoning, the text amendment, be successfully adopted, the applicant would be required to support the manufactured home on a foundation and be required to submit a building permit application, and that goes whether they're doing the site built or the manufactured home. And it would have to have adherence to the BC Building Code requirement and to the town servicing requirement. In terms of the official committee plan, bylaw number 1230/2007, as per the industrial policy, section 11.2 and 11.6 of the town of Osoyoos official community plan, bylaw number 1230/2007, and filling of the Buena Vista Industrial Park is promoted. Further, an accessory residence is permitted within general industrial buildings for added convenience and security for the landowner. Development of industrially designated property is subject to the requirement of the Industrial Development Permit Area, the IDPA. Eligible development includes new buildings, building additions with footprint exceeding 10 square meters, and external alterations that could noticeably alter the building appearance. Associated landscaping and other improvements are also evaluated as part of the development permit process. The analysis. It should be noted that the intent of the Buena Vista Industrial Park is to maximize the use of the land for industrial purpose, as there's a short supply of industrial zone property within the town boundary. As such, utilizing space that could be devoted to industrial purpose or construction of additional industrial buildings as precedent settings. However, the OCP supports a small caretaker dwelling unit within industrial buildings on properties designated for general industrial purpose and for the use of a caretaker or security person or the owner. So it's not meant to be a rental or anything like that. The proposed text amendment, which limits the dwelling unit to a small size built dwelling units, or a manufactured home of a maximum 100 square meters achieve a similar density permitted under the zoning bylaw and for the same purpose as housing a caretaker or the owner. In this particular case, the property is long and narrow, and the proposed dwelling unit or the manufactured home would be situated in the rear portion of the property, approximately 18 meters from the back fence line, from the rear property line, utilizing unused space on the lot. In addition, development permit DP 0804, which is associated with the property, will need to be amended at the cost of the proponent to reflect the proposed new construction. The development permit amendment will address a number of issues such as landscaping, the fencing, and the form and character. Rationale for recommendation: the proposed text amendment is site-specific and only affects Lot C, and the proposed land use is already permitted in the M1 zone, just under a different form of housing. Staff have recommended approval of the zoning application. Implication: community. The proposal meets the objective of the community goals of compact urban form that avoid sprawl and include a diversity of housing types, densities, and locations to accommodate different lifestyles, affordability, and needs. Organizational: staff in the Planning and Development Services Department routinely refer these type of bylaw, which require 4 readings and a public hearing to proceed to adoption. There's no proposed text amendment, no implication for the budget. Significant dates: a public hearing will be required with a proposed scheduled date of July 3rd, 2018, and a proposed time of 4 p.m. Sustainability: targeting the local industrial warehousing sector is an economic development goal in the OCP, as to take advantage of the town's strategic locations to market, junction of 2 provincial highways and the USA. Options: number 1, Council grants first and second reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-106, 2018, and set a public hearing dates of Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. Option 2, Council rejects zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.106, 2018. Option 3, Council requests additional information before proceeding further. And 4, Council recommends any other action deemed appropriate. Staff recommendation is option 1, that Council grants first and second readings to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-106, 2018, and set the public hearing date of Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sana. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If this proposal was to go through, would they be forced to put up a retaining wall? Because that land's actually on quite a slant. It doesn't show it in the picture. You just happen to live next door.
No, we will look when they do their building construction.
They would talk about it.
Councillor King, could you just clarify with respect to where this retaining wall would,
Well, if
you're
you look at the
suggesting
picture
it
that
would
was
go?
presented, there looks like a little gray line there. I don't know if that shows a retaining wall, like above the proposed.
No, but it would not go to public, any decisions about whether or not a retaining wall was required as part of the development of the site for the single-family home.
Okay, because that is quite a hill, and the concern is it caving in.
Oh, I'm sure that the building inspector would be sure to address that at the
Okay.
building permit stage.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Cordoff. I'll move option number 1 as it's worded.
My assumption is you'd want those 2 things separated. So are you moving the first and second readings?
Well, not necessarily as it's worded then, with the exception of the July 3rd.
Yes, so the first and second readings, and we'll leave the public hearing date off of this motion. Yeah.
So
Are you seconding that?
I'll second it, but I have a question as well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Those of us that struggle with math, 93 square meters is equivalent to what in square footage, roughly?
It's about 1,000 square feet.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the motion is that we go ahead with the first and second readings of this bylaw. Anything else? All in favor? Thank you. And we need a second motion. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'll move for the dates. Where is it here?
July 3rd,
Yeah.
Tuesday, July 3rd. That will be our next council meeting. Because
Yes.
July 2nd is a holiday.
Yep,
so-
July 3rd at 4 o'clock p.m.
Okay, and you're seconding that? All in favor of the public hearing. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Sana. Okay, next is the zoning bylaw amendment, housekeeping, supportive recovery, and that would be Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Excuse me. Council will recall that staff had identified a few areas within the zoning bylaw that could benefit from updating, and the proposed changes in brief included definitions for first-stage housing and supportive recovery, restricting the use of vacant residential properties for use as recreational vehicle storage lots, amending the recreational vehicle park ground zone to more clearly define the setbacks in new recreational vehicle parks, and adding utility as a permitted use within the Parks and Recreation Zone. Council reviewed the recommended changes and gave first and second reading to the amending bylaw on March 19th. A public hearing was subsequently held on April 16th, and Council gave third reading as amended to the bylaw on May 7th. The proposed amending bylaw had set out criteria under which Council could adopt or could consider a rezoning application for supportive recovery. Then we discussed the amendments to the provincial care regulations, and Council determined that it was redundant to have Section 4.22, which would outline conditions under which Council could consider a rezoning amendment. They decided to remove that, so they gave third reading as amended. And community implications, that community obviously benefits from open dialogue on challenging issues. Organizationally, staff in the Planning Services Department benefit from having clearly identified objectives and direction in the bylaws they refer to on a daily basis. There's no implications for the budget with this bylaw amendment. Further discussion on the location of social services in the community, such as supportive recovery facilities, would take place during a full OCP review. And the long-term sustainability of our community and the surrounding area is achieved through good planning practices that are proactive rather than reactive. And staff are recommending option number 1, that Council adopts bylaw number 1085.105.
Thank you very much. Council?
Yep. Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that we adopt bylaw number 1085.105.
Thank you. And Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. We've been through this several times. We've given first readings to this, and this is just the final, the adoption. All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the amendment bylaw 1343, a housing agreement. Mr. Romenko.
Thank you. On May 7th, Council passed a motion decreasing the number of years to 5 years with CPI return only, that near-market home purchasers must remain in the program prior to being able to sell the home at market price. Council approved this resolution in an effort to increase the opportunities to sell near-market homes to individual families. The developer brought to Council's attention that the initial program had a 20-year purchase commitment prior to being able to be sold at market price. This 20-year commitment was a barrier to the sale of the homes to eligible buyers because it was difficult for people to accept a long-term commitment. The recommendation was a 5-year commitment that aligned with the mortgage programs of a 5-year commitment. The change in the agreement necessitated an amendment to the housing agreement bylaw number 1433. Attached is the bylaw amendment 1344. The numbers are changed around here, so it's 1433. 1344. Okay. Attached is the bylaw amendment 1344.01 that amends the housing agreement with 1068612 BC Limited, with the only change being Article 5.01, which now reads a 5-year instead of a 20-year period. The bylaw amendment received first 3 readings from Council on June 4th. In terms of implications, this change will make housing more accessible to near-market eligible buyers. 2, organizationally, just the time spent on the bylaw changes. 3, no budget changes, as the reduced market value home discounts are now being provided by the developer. significant dates. The sooner council approves this change, the sooner the developer can make homes available to eligible buyers. 3 options are presented. The first being council adopts Housing Agreement Bylaw Amendment 1344.01. 2, council makes changes to the suggested bylaw prior to reading housing agreement and then rereads the bylaw for the 3rd time and then adopts bylaw 1344.01 as amended. And 3rd, council requests information. Administration recommends option number 1, adoption.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I move that council adopts Housing Agreement Bylaw Amendment 1344.01.
Councillor King is seconding that. This is, did you want to speak to it? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just for transparency's sake, 106-8612 BC Limited, does it have an operating name that would be more familiar?
That would be Elcar Construction with Hart Buckendall.
Oh, good.
Sorry, you know, I don't like to
That's
ask
fine.
rhetorical questions, but
Yep, that's
That
fine.
makes sense, absolutely. Okay, all in favor of option 1?
Who moved and who seconded?
3 and 4.
Take your pick. Okay, all in favor? We voted. Thank you very much. And next is the Business 1 Development Variance Permit at Acacia Court. And is that Ms. Sana?
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. So this is to vary the following section of zoning bylaw number 1085, 1998, to reduce an encroachment in the stream side protection and enhancement area, the SPEA, for the purpose of rebuilding a single-family dwelling on the property. And the variance is to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line from 6 meters, 19.7 feet, to 3.0 meter, 9.8 feet, in a property zone R1. So the purpose of this report is to request that council consider the requested development variance and issuance of development variance permit number 1801, which is attachment 3. The property is also located in the required development permit area, RDPA, and it is associated with a required development permit application number DP 1805. The overview, the site context and proposal. The applicant has applied for development variance permit to vary the town zoning bylaw number 1085, 1998. The proposed variance would allow for reduction in the front lot line setback in order to facilitate the construction of a new dwelling. The lakefront property contains an existing single-family dwelling with a large deck and stairs, as well as 2 ancillary buildings consisting of a garage and a carport. The sitting of the garage and the carport do not conform to the town setback regulation. In fact, both buildings protrude beyond the property line onto Acacia Court Road right-of-way. The proposal will result in all existing buildings to be demolished and replaced with a 273 square meters, 2,939 square feet single-family dwelling, as shown on the site plan. The intent is to construct the new home closer to the road to protect the foreshore area and to minimize the risk of flood damage to the new home. A reporting area assessment report, a RAR assessment, was prepared by a qualified environmental professional, a QEP, and it was submitted to the province by Brian Jantz, RP Bio, on behalf of the proponent, as per the province of BC Ministry of Environment, reporting area regulation, the RAR. The QEP determined the streamside protection enhancement area from the high water mark to be 15 meters. Policy, bylaw, and regulation context. In accordance with the town policy on development variance permit, attachment 4, hardship, impact, and the viewpoint of neighbors are all matters of consideration in evaluating variance request. Further, as per the town official committee plan, requiring development permit area RDPA guideline, section 14.4.2, hardship cases, the town may consider hardship cases involving construction of a new dwelling on a small single-family lot based on the following 3 criteria. A, hardship must be demonstrated that strict application of required setbacks would impose unreasonable restraint on the use of the property for the purpose it was zoned. B, in a demonstrated case of hardship, the town may consider application for a variance permit to vary one or more of the upland boundaries of the stream side protection enhancement area and a minimum front and side yard setback required under applicable zoning. But in no situation shall a building protrude into a specified floodplain contrary to the town floodplain proofing regulation. So the idea is to have the dwelling closer to the road as opposed to the lake. To that effect, Section 4.3 of the riparian area regulation RAR allows for development to proceed within the SPA if the proposal meets the Department Canadian Fishery and Ocean DFO under the Fisheries Act. The SPA reduction request will only be considered if there's a demonstrated case of hardship on brownfield site development. Brownfield sites are existing properties that have been previously developed and have a relatively low riparian function with less than 30% of riparian vegetation remaining. The development footprint on a brownfield site must be less than 40% of the developable area. The DFO expectation is that there should be first an attempt to bend the SPCA boundary combined with riparian habitat compensation by adding to the property new contiguous riparian area, replanting with native riparian species. Second, local government setbacks should be relaxed to locate the development, new building or addition, away from the riparian area in order to minimize harmful alteration, disruption, or destruction of fish habitat. Further, the degree of allowable encroachment into the streamside protection enhancement area by realigning that boundary and must not result in any portion of that boundary being less than 10 meters from the high water mark as per the RAR regulation. Pretty much they still want the first 10 meters from the high water mark to stay as riparian and function as riparian habitat. The QEP is responsible for ensuring that the proposal complies with both provincial and federal requirements. In terms of hardship, development on the property is limited by the floodplain setback and by the lot configuration, which is long and narrow, leaving less than 2 meters wide developable area due to the 15-meter streamside protection enhancement area and a 6-meter front setback requirement. Figure 1 and 2 illustrate how the property configuration is vulnerable to flood events and how limited the developable area is on the property. The property is also affected by 2 statutory right-of-ways in favor of the town. Attachment 5 shows the location of the right-of-ways. The original proposal submitted with the RAR assessment report included a larger home and a garage, but the proposal exceeded the Department of Fishery and Ocean undue hardship rule of a maximum of 40% development on brownfield sites. Further, the zoning bylaw prohibits ancillary building structure to be located in a front yard. Therefore, the proposal was revised to a smaller footprint home without a garage. A replanting landscape plan for compensation, mitigation of bending the SPA is being submitted with the riparian development permit application. Should the variance request to the town be successful, the revised proposal would achieve the required minimum 10 meter SPEA width under the RAR regulation and would meet the DFO requirement. Impact. In terms of impact of the proposal on the road, there's no future plan to widen Acacia Court since only 2 additional properties are accessed via Acacia Court. Access to the municipal pump station, which is located across from the subject property, won't be compromised by the variance request, as redevelopment of the property will actually remediate the 2 ancillary buildings trespass onto the municipal road right-of-way. The demolition of the garage and carport will provide safer access to the utility building. As a condition of approval of the variance, the applicant has agreed to an amendment to the sewer right-of-way. This amendment will improve the sewer right-of-way for pump station number 9, shown in attachment 5, by retiring the other sewer right-of-way plan A13029, and providing the equivalent amount of land to the municipal sewer right-of-way pump station number 9 sewer right-of-way plan A12061 for widening purpose. Therefore, we'll have a wider, safer access to our pump station. In addition, locating the new single-family dwelling closer to the road will result in positive impact, as the riparian zone will be revegetated in accordance with the development permit, and flood mitigation measure will be implemented as part of the development permit landscape plan. Viewpoints of neighbors. As per the requirement of the Town of Osoyoos Land Use Procedure Bylaw number and the Local Government Act Charter, development application signage was placed on the subject property, and individual notice were mailed to owners and tenants within 60 meters of the subject property. Any submission received by the June 15, 2008 deadline would be presented at a regular council meeting on June 18, 2018, and all interested person will be given an opportunity to be heard on this matter during the above-noted council meeting. Rationale for support. Planning staff recommends supporting the variance request as the proposal meets the hardship criteria in both the town's policy on considering a development variance permit and based on DFO on the hardship variance request as per the DFO and MOE protocol for management of required area regulation. The lot configuration combined with the two right-of-ways restrict development of the property. The proposed redevelopment would resolve the nonconformity associated with building encroachment onto the municipal road right-of-way and would result in a net gain in riparian habitat via restoration of part of the shoreline, which is currently mostly naturalized with grass and a concrete retaining wall. Implication: community. In accordance with the council policy on considering development variance permits, council shall provide an opportunity for a member of the public to be heard and to present any written response with respects to the variance proposal. Organizational. Additional tasks include monitoring building permit application to ensure both the development variance permit and the development permit does not lapse if relevant construction is not substantially started. Municipal infrastructure would be improved by removing the south right-of-way plan and transferring the amount of land to the other right-of-way associated with pump number 9, providing better access to the pump station. Further, the proposal would result in removal of 2 buildings and trespass onto the municipal road right-of-way. Budget: no additional budget requirements. Significant dates. In accordance with the Local Government Act, if the holder of a development variance permit does not substantially start construction within 2 years of issuance of the permit lapses. Sustainability. Issuance of a development variance permit should not result in inappropriate development of the lot, nor adversely impact the natural environment or municipal infrastructure. Development will result in net gain for riparian habitat and for municipal infrastructure in general. And there's 4 options. Number 1, that council approves the variance and issuance of development variance permit number 1801. Number 2, that council deny the variances and the issuance of development variance permit 1801. Number 3, that council authorize the issuance of the permit with amendments. And number 4, that council recommend any other action deemed appropriate. And staff recommended number 1, that council approve development variance permit number 1801 for reasons discussed above, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, discharge of the sewer right-of-way, Plan A13029 from the property title. 2, widening of the sewer right-of-way, Plan A12061, in the southern direction by dedicating 32.5 square meters of land corresponding to the side sewer right-of-way Plan A13029, and that all costs associated with the discharge, preparation, dedication, and registration of the right-of-ways be borne by the applicant.
Thank you very much. That was a very comprehensive report. Mrs. Hilson, is this the time when we could ask if there is anyone who wishes to speak on this particular issue? No one wishes to speak. Do I have to call it 3 times? No? No one wishes to speak? Okay. I have a question. When in reading this, I'm wondering when this report had been drawn up, and I'm just wondering if the flooding issues that we have just experienced have had an effect on this particular development, or whether, because I'm assuming it was done before the flooding. Is there anything you could
thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Actually, this application has been in the department for some time and has gone through some changes. Actually, yes, the flooding did affect it. In fact, the riparian areas report was submitted to the province, and the province accepted it and has accepted the proposal with the variance to our setback, subject, of course, to council's approval of the variance. But we requested changes to the landscaping plan to accommodate some of the issues relative to the flooding. So we don't have any pictures in here specifically of the property, but if you look at the one photograph, I think the photograph in the report,
yes,
the water came up just to the bottom of the porch area. It didn't actually infiltrate the home.
So there is not a basement in this?
No, and that is
they would be building at least 921?
That's correct.
Yeah. I just wondered, considering this year, whether they wish to adjust their plans or do something slightly different.
They're
No?
adjusting the landscaping plans
Yeah.
to include some berming, which is approved structures under the RAW regulations.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member McCordoff. Yeah, great report. Thanks for, got all the information a person needs in there. I just have a question. So I get that you can't build between the proposed setback and the lake. Like you can't put a garage in there or, some smaller type of home. But what about above ground decks and things that may be attached to the house and that kind of thing? Is that permitted, or does this variance just eliminate all of that possibility as well?
The variance is just to vary the setback predominantly from the road. If you look at on page 47 of your agenda, that identifies the entire footprint, including the decks. So there's no extension beyond that.
Yeah.
At 2 foot or above, you could have patios in that area. But they need to be included in the plan for the landscaping plan and bonded.
Okay. So is there an easy answer to that question?
No.
There isn't. Okay.
That's why we're here.
So if they build their house without a deck on the lakeside and they, 4 years down the road, they decide they want one, they cannot do that, correct?
Well, they could, but they would need an amendment to the RAR, predominantly for installation of the posts and any footings, because that would then be in the SPIA. So they would need to do that. So they certainly could.
Go
Yeah.
to the development permit process one more and amend it, and your report from biologists, etc.
So it would come back to us then if there was anything different.
Actually, it wouldn't,
Oh,
because it would be an amendment just to the development permit. So assuming that the province was okay with that, putting footings into the SPIA. If you want to come and look at the building plans, I can assure you there's enough outdoor space
Okay.
accommodated.
Okay.
The other thing is with respect to the issuance of the development permit, there is patio provided as well, outdoor patio.
Okay, thanks.
okay. Anything else? So is there somebody who would like to make a recommendation? Yes?
I'll make a motion based on the recommended.
I'll second.
Yeah, seconded. Anyone else like to speak to this? All in favor? Thank you very much. Next is the Mayor and Council meeting report, and this would be an application for Mr. not director, he's a councillor, Councillor Campbell, to be reimbursed for the 6 days that he was at FCM in Halifax. Is there someone who would like to make that? Thank you. Councillor Youngberg, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the Victim Services Funding Agreement. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. At the November 6, 2017 regular open meeting, Council approved the completion of the funding application agreement with the province for the Victim Services Program. Since the original funding agreement was approved and signed, the province has allocated an additional $5 million toward victim services. Of this funding, the Osoyoos program will be receiving an increase of $3,542.58 toward the program for a total of $40,011 per fiscal year. This additional funding, along with the one-time additional grant of $5,000 received earlier this year, will be used to provide the program manager with a modest wage increase, as well as allow the towns of Oliver and Osoyoos to join forces and hire a part-time staff person to assist the program manager during absences and to complete paperwork. The program manager works 18 hours per week in each Oliver and Osoyoos. Should the $5,000 additional grant not be received from the province for the next provincial fiscal year, the part-time person's hours would be cut back to cover absences only. For implications to the community, improved victim services program, organizationally none, no budget impacts to the town, sustainability, continuation of the victim services program. Options: that the victim services funding modification agreement be approved and that the town signatories be authorized to sign, or 2, that the town not approve the victim services funding modification agreement, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I guess any increase is positive. I would have loved to have seen a bigger increase. But having
take
said
it.
that, I'll move that the Victim Services Funding Modification Agreement be approved and the town signatories be authorized to sign.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that.
Question.
Councillor King.
This involves the person working in Oliver and here. Has Oliver been presented this yet, do you know?
Have they, sorry?
Has they been presented to pay half this person's cost?
They have their own contract with the province. They just have hired the same program manager. So they get the same funding as we do, and we're just, because we each got $5,000 additional funding, we talked to both the detachments and asked them how we should spend that $5,000, and it was decided that getting some help for the current program manager was the way to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I think it's terrific when towns can work together and share this. You get certainly more work out of them. Good, thank you. So
Great service, too.
all in favor? Thank you very much. And our next item is the agreement to connection to the town domestic water service. That would be Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the June 4th, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting, Mr. Durat presented to Town Council his request to have the Town of Osoyoos install a connection from a new domestic water service at his property line to his house at 8921 122nd Avenue. This new domestic water service was installed in May of 2018 as part of contract number 3 of the Rural Water Twinning Project. The Town of Osoyoos has begun constructing since 2016. Attached is a summary of Mr. Durat's council presentation from June 4th, 2018, provided by himself for council's review. With the approval of Interior Health, the Town of Osoyoos began a project in 2016 to provide the residents of Irrigation District Number 8 with Town of Osoyoos domestic well water for personal use and consumption. Previously, the residents of Irrigation District Number 8 received irrigation water from Lake Osoyoos, which the Town of Osoyoos treated with chlorine, which they could also use for personal consumption if desired. It is believed that Mr. Durat was happy with the quality of the irrigation water he was previously receiving from the Town of Osoyoos and therefore did not request this change to town domestic water. It should be noted that the irrigation line providing Mr. Durat with water was determined to be compromised. It has a leak somewhere, but we don't know exactly where, and therefore scheduled to be abandoned after the installation of the new domestic water service. Mr. Durat's request to Town Council can best be summarized as follows. Mr. Durat would like the Town of Osoyoos to pay to have his house connected to the newly installed domestic water service at his property line. Mr. Durat believes that since he did not request this upgrade to his water service, he should not be required to pay for this connection. Mr. Durat would also like the Town of Osoyoos to continue to operate the existing irrigation service to his property at 8921 122nd Avenue. Implications for the community. All residents of Irrigation District Number 8 who have received a new domestic water connection from contracts 1, 2, and 3 of the Rural Water Twinning Project have had to pay to have a plumber connect their houses to the new system. If Mr. Durat is successful in having the Town of Osoyoos pay for this service, he will be establishing a service standard which other homeowners may also feel entitled to receive. Organizationally, there will be increased maintenance costs for the Operational Services Department to maintain an irrigation line which was originally scheduled to be abandoned. Budget, possible increase in costs to pay for the connection from our domestic water services to the house of other homeowners in Irrigation District Number 8. Significant dates. In order to resolve this issue in a timely manner, Town Council should make a decision as soon as possible. Sustainability, there are no impacts. There are several options before Council, and they are as follows. Town Council instructs the Operational Services Department to hire a plumber to connect Mr. Durat's house at 8921 122nd Avenue to the town's domestic water curb stop. Option number 2 is that Town Council instructs Mr. Durat that he is responsible to pay for this connection of his house to the town domestic water service. Option number 3 is that Town Council instructs the Operational Services Department to maintain the existing irrigation service to Mr. Durat's property at 8921 122nd Avenue. Option number 4 is the town council instructs the operational services department to abandon the existing irrigation water service to Mr. Durant's property at 8921 122nd Avenue. And option number 5 is the council requests additional information prior to making a decision. And the administration recommends council adopt options number 2 and 4.
Thank you, Mr. Dinwiddie. Council? Anybody like to make Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I have a couple of questions, one of them regarding the leak. Under normal conditions, if there was not all of this other stuff being, influencing that, what would we do? Would we determine where the leak is and then determine who's to repair it?
Well, the leak is on our water line. We just don't know exactly where. It's quite difficult to determine where the leak is without extensive investigation. Typically, what we would do is we wait until the water bubbles to the surface, and that gives you a pretty good idea of where the leak is. It isn't a very big leak, so it's not the water is dissipating before it gets to the surface, so it will be quite difficult to determine where it is.
Okay, now that line that's leaking, are we abandoning that line altogether?
Depends what you decide.
Right.
If you decide to, yes, we could, or we could keep it in service. And the only person who would be on service on that line, if we kept it in service, would be Mr. Durant.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's been abandoned by everybody that previously used it. Okay.
Can I ask, how did you discover the leak if it's underground and it hasn't showed?
When they were doing the new installation of the new water line, they determined that there was something wrong with it.
Good, thank you. Councillor Campbell?
So we're clear, anybody else has paid a plumbing company?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay. I'd like to move option number 2, please.
2 and 4, or just 2?
Well, I figured we have to do one at a time.
Do we have to do them separately?
Separate
Okay.
motion,
All right. Is there a seconder for option number 2? Thank you, Councillor Morera. And all in favor? And water councillors can vote on this, I'm assuming? Yes?
What's going on?
Sorry? Okay. And so that's passed. Is there somebody who would like to make another motion?
Sure.
Yes? Councillor Campbell?
I'll move option number 4.
Option number 4. Is there a seconder for that? I'll second that. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so if Mr. Durant decides that he does not want to pay for it, that means he does not get the service, correct?
Correct.
And if this latest motion is passed, then we would close off that line in its entirety.
Eventually, yes, we would shut down that irrigation line, yes. And that means he would be without water.
So this is a philosophical question. Are we empowered to do that? Can we abandon a water line and leave an individual without, or a property owner without water service?
Well, we have provided him a water service to his property. If Mr. Durant chooses not to take advantage of that water service, then we've done our due diligence by providing him with a water service. It's just if he doesn't want to use it, he doesn't want to use it. So.
Okay, great.
Yes.
What's the approximate cost to hook up?
I'm not sure. It's not a long distance to the house, less than $5,000, I would think.
Could we ask?
$1,500. According to Councillor Morero.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor King?
I just wanted clarity on this existing irrigation water. Is Mr. Durant using that as sort of drinking water, or does it actually use irrigation water for
both?
Both, yeah.
So how big of a piece of property are we irrigating?
0.4 acres.
0.4 acres.
24
trees and vegetables. Nice and green.
So at my house, I am on irrigation water for my irrigating, and it is shut down for 6 months of the year. I cannot use it. So
it's not that it's shut down. It's just that the water comes from a different source for 6 months of the year. Or like when we turn off the pump stations, there's pumping water out of the lake. After October 15th, I think it is, we usually shut it down. After that, you would get water from our domestics from the reservoirs.
But that happens to me as well.
Yes.
I get some water, but my irrigation water is a separate line, and it is shut down in the fall of the year.
Yep.
So I do not have, am I correct, Councillor Moreira?
Sort of. You have,
Sort of.
Sort of.
you have two systems.
I have one.
Okay, I have two systems, and that's why. So one is there all the time for my domestic water, which sometimes is from the lake and sometimes is from the town well. But my irrigation water is only on when it's, okay, thank you. That's why I was confused. Councillor Youngberg.
Yes, and sorry I wasn't at the last meeting, but I just have a question. So when this individual bought the property, what service of water did he have when he bought the property?
I believe he had the irrigation service. And then he also had a small service that came from a pond.
My invoices, since I bought the property, show a domestic rate and a partial irrigation rate. Both of them.
Okay.
Right.
And you have already made a decision that I have to pay for new domestic.
Thank you, Mr. Durant. This is not a meeting where you may speak. I'm sorry.
The reason for the questioning was because if you shut the irrigation line off and he decides not to pay for the connection, then he has bought a piece of property that now has got no water to it.
Correct.
Councillor Ray.
Other question, how much approximately we can pay for fixing the water?
Well, if you decide to abandon the line, we were never going to repair that line.
But if I check it, right, where's the leaking?
Yeah, we don't exactly know where the leaking is. It's somewhere between, I believe, 87th Street and Mr. Durant's property. That's quite a long stretch. If we were going to abandon the line, we wouldn't bother. We would just shut it off, and therefore we wouldn't bother with the expense of trying to fix it. If you want to keep the line going, we could start a process to investigate where the leak is, and we could repair it. It's not unrepairable. We just have to find it.
Will we be doing that for one property?
Yes. One property.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I always hate doing this, but I'd like to ask Councillor Moreira if he had any comments about this. One of the problems that we have is that there is historical stuff that went on prior to, us having any knowledge of it. The previous decision that we made with option number 2, I get it. That's how you treat everybody the same. So I did struggle. I'm struggling with this particular one because there is a history behind it. I think we heard a little bit about it during our committee of the whole meeting when Mr. Durant was here, but I'm wondering if there's anything else. I freely admit I'm a little conflicted about the decision on this particular
Thank you. Director Moreira, could you?
Well, for the parcel tax and that, previous owner probably just bypassed everybody. There should have been 2 hookups there. For the parcel tax for the orchard, or the property, the 0.4 acres, and the house. So somehow, and I know the history behind it, their well went bad, so they just bypassed it and didn't ask for service for the house. That's what happened, because there's 2 shutoffs.
So it sounds like it's been sort of bypassed and done for quite some time then before.
They just tapped in and didn't say anything.
It makes it confusing, doesn't it? Councillor Rhodes?
We know intimately what Mr. Durant's position is in this. I'm just wondering if this decision should not be placed on the previous owner. We do have pretty strict disclosure laws. Now, I might be way out to lunch here with this comment, but if that was not disclosed and it has a profound impact on Mr. Durant's quality of life at his current property, should that not be directed to whomever?
No.
No? Okay.
Because there is water being provided to that property.
I'm sorry? There
is water being provided to that property.
Okay. Mr. Romanko.
Just for clarity on this, if you're not abandoned the irrigation water line, you would have to somehow make a connection between the domestic water line and his water, and his, if he was going to get water in the wintertime.
Well, no, we would just, if we decide to not abandon the irrigation like that water line, we would just, he gets water in the winter now.
I know he does, but he doesn't get it, everybody else gets that water through the irrigation system. Now they're going to be getting water through the domestic line.
Yep.
So there would have to be a connection between the domestic line and
we
the
would just have to
irrigation.
make sure that that irrigation line is not turned off, and we would have to maintain it during the winter. So what we'd have to do is make sure that the line is flushed at the end, because it's a dead-end line, and so the water that is in, Mr. DeRat is just one person, and so they don't use a whole heck of a lot of water, and so what we would have to do is make sure that we would flush it on a regular basis, otherwise the water in that line could go stale.
Couldn't we, we'll ask,
So just speaking to fairness, if we didn't abandon that irrigation water service and repaired it, all those other properties that have paid for their hookup for domestic water would have had options that they, we basically would be providing an option after the fact.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't quite seem fair, does it? Councillor Marrera.
Yes, but that property pays a parcel tax, which I said earlier is a different system, it's in a different line. So if we tied in now, he'll be using well water for irrigating. That's what I'm trying to get at. There has to be two systems there, or there should have been.
There should have been.
There should have been two systems. It was bypassed.
But there wasn't.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to provide water to the lot.
And we have.
And that's all. That's it. There is
So-
water there.
So for $1,500, Mr. DeRat could have it hooked up and get the same system as everyone else.
Yep.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Approximately. I don't know the exact cost of a plumber, but.
Okay.
No, our responsibility is not a plumber. It's to provide water to the property line.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
we know that there's, I get it.
But if he wants another system, like for his irrigation or whatever he wants, that's $1,500 for a parcel. He can get that if he wants the system.
Yeah.
Prepare to pay for it.
Or you could purchase two options.
A lot of properties do have them at that size. That's the way they used to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, where are we at? Do we have a motion on the floor? No, we don't.
We do.
We do.
We do?
No seconder.
And
Yes.
did you second it?
No, you did.
Yeah, Councilor
Oh,
Campbell, Mayor McCorduff.
Oh, yeah, you
Oh,
said.
I seconded it. Pardon me. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is it option number 4?
It is option
Yes.
number 4.
All right, so are we ready? I'll ask the question. All in favor? Against? Okay.
Who's it?
Thank you.
I am
That-
against.
That has carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Occupational Health and Safety Consultant, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Occupational Health and Safety Agreement with McMullen and Associates expired in May of 2018, and a new request for a proposal was developed. The OH&S committee received 4 proposals, and only 2 of these proposals met the RFP requirements. McMullen and Associates and Talus Safety Incorporated were shortlisted by the committee. The committee chose Talus Safety Incorporated based on the fact that they will do a comprehensive audit of their current program, deliver specific training that is required by legislation, assist with occupational health and safety incidents and investigations, keep us up to date on the changing regulations, and be available 24/7 by email and telephone. Talus Safety Incorporated are also capable of awarding continuing education credits, and they are available to provide training during the times when our crew are not as busy and are able to attend training sessions. This would include training in the winter months. In the past, we did not have that option, and at times it was very difficult to pull staff away from operations to attend training. The agreement consists of a 3-year term with an annual review. Year 1 of $25,000 plus GST, Year 2 of $26,500 plus GST, and Year 3 of $28,000 plus GST. Talus Safety Incorporated are situated in Kimberley and have extensive background and training in delivering a sound OH&S program for the town. In terms of implications for the community, having our occupational health and safety program up to date provide safe environments for the public as well as staff. Organizational, the committee will liaison with the consultant on a regular basis. Budget will be $25,000. This meets the budget requirement that has been approved. Significant dates, ASAP, and sustainability. A safe work environment provides a sustainable program for staff to work and meets the needs of the community with less downtime. The options before council: for council to authorize the OH&S agreement with Talos Safety Incorporated for a 3-year term as presented. Option 2, for council to authorize the OHS agreement with another proponent. And option 3, for council not to authorize an agreement at this time. And staff's recommendation is option number 1. The agreement is presented for a 3-year term with an annual review.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Youngberg.
I'd like to make the motion for council to authorize the OHS agreement with Talos Safety for a 3-year term as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councillor King? Yes. Councillor Youngberg.
Director Davis, have you shopped around for different estimates from different companies?
Yes.
Or is this just a standard sort of renewal that does happen?
No, we actually put the RFP out, and we actually got 4 different ones. The other ones that actually didn't actually meet the requirements were we were looking for a consultant, they were looking for a full-time job. So when they came in, the costs were very high.
Okay, just wondered.
Thank you. So we've had it moved and seconded that we accept option number 1. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next... Somebody's mic is misbehaving? Whose?
One's ringing like an elevator. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh. You're going to turn it off? Does that make a difference? Thank you. The next one is the Miss Universe Canada funding. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I get all the good ones, the fun ones. Miss Gina Pereira attended the last committee of the whole meeting on June 4th and requested a sponsorship of $1,000 from the town to attend the Miss Universe Canada pageant. At that time, she was $2,500 short of her goal. Miss Pereira was the reigning Miss Osoyoos in 2013 and 2014. During this time, she traveled around the province representing Osoyoos in various capacities. She had a very positive experience with the program and gained valuable knowledge. At this time, she has been selected as one of the 31 representatives from Western Canada. This event is held in Toronto, Ontario in August, and she is requesting funding to assist her with travel costs, training, and accommodations. Gina was also a summer student for a number of years with the Cactus Kids program. She was an excellent leader and thoroughly enjoyed the program. In terms of implications for the community, supporting youth to acquire valuable life skills that will assist her in her future, a budget of $1,000, significant dates, ASAP, the event takes place in Toronto in August of this year, and sustainability not applicable. In terms of options, option 1, for council to approve a $1,000 grant to support Ms. Pereira in the Miss Universe Canada pageant. Option 2, for council to approve another amount of funding to support Ms. Pereira in the Miss Universe Canada pageant. And option 3, for council not to support Ms. Pereira at this time. And the recommendation is option number 1. We do have sufficient funds remaining in the Community Services Grant Program to cover this expense. The town will also receive recognition for supporting Ms. Pereira for this event.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. What do we have left in the Community Service Grant Program right now?
There was a couple of $1,000s, and I do believe we had some extra funds just recently come back.
Okay. I'd like to move for council to approve a $1,500 grant to support Ms. Pereira in the Miss Universe Canada pageant.
Did you say 15?
I said 15.
Are you seconding that? I'm not sure I agree with this. I was even looking at 1,000. This grant funding, I believe, is for students and young people. Ms. Pereira is, I think, a little older than that, probably in her 20s. And while I certainly agree with that her choice to do this, I'm wondering if we offered support to some of the other people who, in terms of money, who have gone on after being Mrs. Osoyoos or Mrs. Osoyoos. And I'm thinking of Chelsea Cameron Horner was one, and also she went, Deb Sherwood, Lauren Sherwood was another one, who went on after they ran for Mrs. Osoyoos or Mrs. Osoyoos Princess, and also received money at the end of it, an honorarium. So I'm just a little bit concerned about setting a precedent here. I do understand that she has chosen to do this, but I'm sort of two minds, and to my mind, if we were going to support it at all, I would rather have seen it at 500 rather than 1,000. But that's just my point of view. I'll see if anybody else wants to speak to it. No? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Campbell.
Just because CJ argued with you earlier, I'm going to argue with you.
Oh, so now everybody's going to argue with me? Okay.
Yeah. I'm a little confused by what you said about the age and what that had to do with the Community Service Grant Program.
Well, I think that I'm not sure about community services, but we do have money set aside for sports teams, for, young people, and that was what I was thinking of more so.
Yeah.
Is there two different items here?
No, we do have extra funding left over from our Community Service Grant Program, even with everybody, that was allocated for. But yes, we do have $2,000 that would be put aside for the youth, youth who would travel to at a province, for at a province expenses above and beyond that. So, and that would qualify for that as well.
Yeah, so I just look at it as a young person from our community that's been outstanding in our community and going to represent us on a world stage. And
I get it.
Support it.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you about it. No, not at all. Councillor King?
Yeah, I like to support back to the 1,000. I don't think I like the 1,500. Osoyoos will definitely get lots of recognition out there presented. I'm sure she'll have a banner on with Osoyoos on it. No,
maybe not. Not necessarily.
I would think so.
Yeah. Is there a banner with Osoyoos on it?
No, but there is definitely recognition. What we received in correspondence just said that the town of Osoyoos would receive. One of the reasons we actually put $1,000 in the recommendation is that's what Ms. Prayer asked for. She may have already reached her $2,500 goal. I'm not sure because I haven't spoken to her or been in touch with her since we did the report.
Get it. Thank you. Councillor Youngberg?
And just a little bit of knowledge that I have about her. Great representative, and she'll really do a good job for Osoyoos for sure. I'd like to see it at 1,000. But however, I think that as far as the opportunities for Osoyoos go, they do interview them, and they do a little bit of a blog. Blog's not the right word. Do a little bit of a caption on the community that they're from when they interview them on the stage. And because they're there for a number of days. And so, of course, Osoyoos gets drug along through the procedure that they have to go through. So I would support 1,000 if that's of any interest to anybody.
So we do have a motion on the floor. Did you want to speak to it before we call? Okay.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. Our royalty program was abandoned this year, was it not?
That's correct, yes.
I see a lot of similarities between the two, not structure-wise, but certainly the idea is to represent our community in other locations rather than our own. Am I right in assuming that if she is successful with this, once she goes through the process, then she will continue on to the Miss Universe? I'm not even sure whether I have my...
Yes.
I think so.
So that's part of it. So this is a...
stepping stone.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone on the way to the bigger picture.
Should be a Canadian record.
What I really want to know is Donald Trump still involved in that? Or?
No. He's not. He gave it up last year.
We may want to send a security guard along with her.
Just to be fair, the royalty program has not been abandoned. The young lady from last year, Akam Tekar, is going to continue on and be the Osoyoos ambassador this year. So it's not. It's just that we don't have new people coming. Right. So there will not be a
formal program.
A pageant, yeah.
Just a quick question I have.
Sorry, okay, and then CJ,
sorry.
back to you.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Wait,
go ahead with your question, then we'll let CJ
did she use her
continue.
$1,000 that she got as Miss Osoyoos? I always ask that because a number of them don't.
I have no idea.
And
You
if you
mean back
could-
in 2013?
That's right, because Mr. Zackel, Director Zackel, was going to research that, and I did.
I
yeah.
think she did.
She did.
And I think it was 800. I think it's
Okay.
800 for royalty and 600 for,
For the
or was
princess.
at one time, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, we have a motion on the floor, moved and seconded to approve a grant of $1,500 for Ms. Pereira. All in favor? Against? So that has, that is not supported. Councillor
I'll
King?
put a new motion on the floor that we approve a $1,000 grant to support Ms. Pierre.
Are you seconding that?
I will.
Okay. So the motion now is to support it to 1,000. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. So next is the sketches for the Town Hall gazebo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I continue.
You've got another one, okay.
Administration received correspondence about installing local artists' renderings of various scenes depicting the history of agriculture in our community. Ms. Janice St. Louis requested the installation of paintings on the gazebo outside Town Hall. The paintings will be done by two local artists, Sharon Leonard and Nancy Gray. This is something they would like to do to beautify the gazebo and bring an artistic flavor to the community. They would like to paint an agricultural scene on wood and install it on the gazebo. They also have plans for the future to paint other items of similar design on the pillars. This will assist in celebrating the arts in our community. They are asking for a request of $500 to offset the costs of the paint, brushes, and wood, and that would be the piece they will paint on and install. They also want to get the agricultural theme of the design approved. The community implications: enhancing public areas with art to show a history of the area, a budget of $500, significant dates. They would like to do this immediately, and this is a project they would like to complete this year. And in terms of sustainability, celebrating and retaining an artistic flair in our community. For options, for council to approve $500 for supplies to install local art on the Town Hall gazebo that will be themed with agricultural significance. Option 2, for council to approve another amount of funding for this project. Option 3, for council to approve the $500 and request another site be chosen to install the art. Or option 4, for council not to approve the funding for this project or the location at this time. And the recommendation is option number 1. Town has a number of talented local artists who want to show the community and numerous visitors about our history and to showcase public areas. If the project is approved, staff would work with Ms. St. Louis to ensure the paintings are suitable and placed securely in a visible area.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell, we'll go down around the table.
I love these asks. I love the quails. I love the work done on the side of the home hardware building. And I think anytime we're helping to utilize and exploit the talent we have in our community that fits in with the messaging we want to send as a community, it's a huge win. And $500 for something like that, just imagine what these artists would charge for something that size that they created and sold on the market somewhere. So this is an easy decision for me that council to approve $500 for supplies to install local art in the Town Hall gazebo that will be themed with agricultural significance.
Councillor King?
I have a question.
We'll get a second.
I'll second it.
Go
and I have
ahead.
a question.
You had a question?
Do you have any, I support the arts definitely. Do you have any idea on the sizes they were talking? Is it more than one?
They do have plans for future to do similar items. The size, I'm not 100% sure, but again, it would be something that would be applicable, something that would work in that area.
Theoretically, this time would be maybe one to go on the back wall or something there. Okay.
If I can just interject
Yeah,
here,
go ahead.
in the discussions I had with Mrs. St. Louis, she said that they would start with two pictures.
And would they be attached and hung up like in the summertime and taken down in the winter? Or
We didn't get into that level of
We
detail.
didn't get into that.
My assumption was that they would stay there all
Yeah.
year round.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think on the back wall.
Yeah, they would be permanent for sure.
okay, and
they
they'd
would
just be
placed-
attached on wood, so that if
Yeah.
that building out there what needed to be re-stuccoed or something like that, it would be able to be taken down
sure.
and replaced somewhere else.
Same idea as home hardware.
I
Yes.
just have a comment. Truly in favor of this, for sure. I just have a couple of concerns. One is that Home Hardware look after all their own murals, and just as the art gallery looks after all their quail, who would look after these paintings? It would be the town's responsibility. If graffiti came, anything, we would have to replace them.
I would think we would, yes.
Just remove them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? No? So we've had it moved and seconded that we approve $500 for the supplies to install this. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the Osoyoos Indian Band Service Agreement.
Mayor McCordoff?
I'm sorry?
I'd like to recuse myself.
Yes, okay. And this would be the water sewer agreement, temporary housing camp. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you. The Osoyoos Employee Housing Society is in the process of developing a 49-unit temporary staff housing camp on OIB lands. Last meeting, Council approved a three-party agreement that protected a no-build covenant on the lands and agreed to provide servicing to the Society's project. Attached, please find a draft water and sewer service agreement that enables the town to provide services onto the OIB lands and more clearly defines the terms and conditions of the servicing and development relationship between the OIB town and the society. The agreement follows the template that is used to guide water and sewer service agreements that currently operate between the town and the OIB. Administration is seeking council's approval of the agreement and direction to town signatories to sign the agreement. In terms of implications, one, community. The community will benefit from having additional housing for seasonal employees. Two, organizationally, the time spent to pull together agreements in a very short period, which resulted in a change in work priorities. Three, budget, no cost to the town, as the society is paying all servicing, legal, and town administration costs. Four, significant dates. Servicing it will start immediately after agreements are signed. Four options are presented to council. One, council approves the water and sewer agreement as presented to council and directs the town signatories to sign the agreement. Two, council makes changes and approves the water and sewer agreement as presented to council and directs the town signatories to sign the agreement. Three, council requests additional information. And four, council denies the request to approve the water and sewer agreement. Administration recommends option number one. This agreement provides clear terms and conditions of the servicing of the temporary staff housing complex.
Thank you. Councillor King,
I'll move number one.
are you seconding that? Thank you. I think that Mr. Romanko has spent a great deal of time looking at this, making sure that this is the best option for the town of Osoyoos, and so that's why he's brought this forward. So it's been moved and seconded. We go with option one. All in favor? Thank you very much.
The notice of motion, I'd like to comment on that. If I could.
Yes, no problem. We'll just wait for Councillor Campbell to come back. Okay, next on our list is a notice of motion, and Councillor Rhodes would like to speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I have a couple of questions about this portion of our agenda. The reason why I'm asking for an opportunity to speak of this is I have no memory of us ever having a motion brought forward. I think we had one with Councillor Ryan way back in the day. So I have two questions I'd like to ask. First off, do you require the motion before we provide a notice of motion? And secondly, 2 meetings ago, we had a delegation from our high school here. I would like to move that forward, particularly with 2 portions of that. And that goes like with the plastic straws and the styrofoam, which I know is a brand name, but I use it because it's easily recognizable, and how we're going to deal with that through our process. So that was kind of a comment with 2 questions in there.
Okay, let me just address the second portion.
Yeah. Specifically, I wanted to know whether there was anything with staff that was being developed with that motion, because it would be redundant to move it forward.
That's right, and as any delegation comes and there's an ask, we deal with it and bring it back to council. We just haven't had the opportunity to bring it back to council. So that would be what's happening to that ask, and I would see it happen coming back to council at the next meeting. We did, in terms of, we couldn't operationalize it in this, again, this year. So it would be something that we would, if we received direction, would go into 2019. So that's why there was no kind of a lower priority put on it. In terms of your question of notice of motion, in that case, this is the opportunity for a member of council to provide notice that, in fact, at the next meeting, he would be bringing a motion forward to council.
Sort of like RDOS. She found it.
Yeah. And the procedural bylaw outlines the notice of motion process.
Do you have one? Because I think you have to present it in writing, don't you? If you decide that you want to do a notice of motion?
Because it has to appear in the minutes at the next meeting.
Yeah, so according to the procedural bylaw, okay, let me just read all the points here. Any member who during a meeting wishes to bring before council any new matter of law or policy, that's what notice of motion is about, other than a point of order of privilege, shall do so by way of notice of motion. Second 69, any member may give notice of motion which they intend to present to council by giving a copy of the motion to the corporate administration office during the meeting of council, and upon it being acknowledged by the mayor, it shall appear in the minutes of that meeting as a notice of motion and be placed on the agenda at the next regular council meeting. And 70, any member making a notice of motion must prepare a report which must include background, overview, and proposed motion to be included as part of the council package for the next meeting. So notice of motions are and my thanks to the Deputy Corporate Officer. So notice of motions are intended for members, basic for policy and bylaws. If there's something that a member of council wants to see as a matter of policy or a bylaw, that they in fact would do that. Your request is, well, your request for information on what happened, basically that's just a request for action that goes through our normal processes.
Okay. So with regard to the redundancy of it, I did hear that it will be a part of our near future.
Yes.
Well beyond the election.
Well, first of all, we are collecting cigarette butts now and probably putting them out, we're just putting them in the garbage. So the second one on straws. So if there was going to be some type of specific action that council wants, then that would be part of the report. And the second one on drinking straws, again, in that one we would have to check to see what our legal authority would be.
I think there's precedent already.
Yeah, there is.
Well, in Vancouver, but Vancouver's got its own legislation.
But I was able to read that entire. It's a incredibly lengthy document. It's very long. I did read it over, and there's lots of stuff that we could cherry pick out of there that is very applicable.
But I think that since our last meeting, A&W, as a corporate business, has decided to, in a short period of time, cut down on their straws. I'm thinking that we're going to see this happening without even maybe us doing anything about it. I totally agree, Councillor Rhodes. We need to support this, but I think you're going to see this as happening in lots of places.
I think we've gone well beyond the question. We're now discussing an item that's not on the agenda.
Yes, so if I could, the next meeting, we will bring a report back.
BEI is all non-plastic, just pass the legislation.
Thank you. You answered my question.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I was wondering about.
So we are now on to reports, and we have, this is, let me get this. Where is it?
General payroll.
Yes, I'm just trying to find it on here. General net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And so as of June the 18th, we represent the balances in the general cash requirements of $744,996.33 and Sun Bowl cash requirements of $4,477.43, and those would be for consensus, and net payroll accounts of $77,498.83, and that is for information. And next we have the building report, and I see that that on the building report, it must be down here somewhere, that we have just $120,900 for this month, and the total 2018 is $3,800,000, and to date last year it was $6,300,000. So my assumption is that was because of the fire hall. Is that correct?
No.
No? So we just had double the buildings last year.
I'd have to. These numbers don't seem right to me. So I'm going to have to check, but I do know that the flood backed up our whole building permit process, and as you heard the Director of Planning mention earlier in this meeting, I think that come next meeting the council is going to be quite surprised with the number.
Quite a high. How much?
16.
Okay. Yes, I think that's what she said, 14 to 16 or something, didn't she? Okay, thank you very much. Do we need to, we need to move the acceptance of that report. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. And next is the bylaw enforcement. And I thought it was interesting that the number for the month of 2018, I thought it was interesting that the hours spent, 22 hours versus 15.5 for last year. At the very bottom, there's a different item on there which says sandbagging. And I did talk to the bylaw officer today, and she did say that because of the sandbagging issue, that she went in and opened and closed the boat trailer parking quite often, and she and the other bylaw officer, Emerald, did a fair amount of traffic control over there. So
they weren't spending time at the golf course.
No, they weren't. No, unlike some of us. but that was why that number was in there. It probably wouldn't be in most times.
That's where our community priorities were.
Yes, absolutely, and they did a terrific job, because every time I was over there, one of them was there in bylaw outfits, making sure that people were in and out safely. So, and the other thing is parks enforcement. I'm thinking at the very top there, the hours are wrong. I would assume it must be 2018, 2017, rather than 17 and 16.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and it was just interesting to see which things that's fairly similar to last year. But so it's the usual things in the month of May. that take up our bylaw officers' time down at Gyro. So do we need to have we need a motion to accept this report? Councillor King, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thank you. And next is community reports, West Bench Dog Park Committee. Councillor Rhodes, did you need to say anything about this report, or?
I just have one comment.
Yeah.
The report is very accurate. One of the areas that we've been struggling with is when you stand beside the pickleball court and you glance upwards on the dog park, it seems to be quite a slope, quite a climb up there. If you go up to the top and get up there, you'll notice that there is a fairly large flat plane, and the grade of that entranceway up there is not really quite as steep as it appears. It's almost like it's an optical illusion. I just wanted to mention that we do have some plans in place to make that access to that upper part. We're thinking of putting some dog activity areas and kind of tier them so that you can kind of meander up there. Those plans have not been finalized. And the other thing I wanted to comment on is we have been meeting on site. You can't believe how much easier it is to envision what you're talking about when you're actually there and feeling where you are and dealing with things that are going on there. As far as progress on the dog park, it's been exemplary. It's been scratched off. I think the fencing is now complete or very, very close to it. And the temporary dog park, which is directly north of the tennis and pickleball courts, is being used and actually well accepted by people down there. And so, yeah, it's moving along really well. And the gazebo has been moved.
Good. Oh, it has. Good. That was the last thing. Thank you very much. Do we need to accept this? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And now we have the CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few of the activities of the administration over the last couple weeks, starting first in community services, dog park update. Most of the fence is in place. The temporary dog park is now open. We have water and temporary shelter on the site. The main shelter has been moved to the new dog park, and once irrigation is completed, we will seed the area. Pickleball courts, reminder that people who play pickleball should not block the main service road when parking on the site. Our summer program staff has been hired. They will start just prior to Canada Day and will assist with the parade and on-site gyro park. The shutdown at the arena is continuing. New LED lights have been installed, and we're waiting for the insulator for the chiller in the plant room. We received a draft report from Cardi Health in relation to our age-friendly program. Thanks to all the people and groups who took part in the discussions, the online and hard copy surveys. Summer hours at the Sonora Central will begin on June 25th. At that time, we will be closing at 8 p.m. instead of 9. Corporate services, preparing for a debriefing on flood. We'll be doing that tomorrow. Cleanup of paperwork and finalization of loose ends, including billings to the province. There is no sandbag pickup from private residences this year. All property owners are asked to take their sandbags to the Osoyoos landfill or at no charge, or return them to the area across from the Osoyoos Dairy Queen. Preparations for election are ongoing. A pre-election candidate session is being planned for Thursday, September 6, 2018 at 6:30 at the Sonora Community Center. Active postings for utility person and part-time victim services worker. Unsightly properties are taking much of the time of bylaw enforcement, and a few human resources issues that we're working on. Finance, rural and water tax collection is underway to June 12th. The following percentages have been collected. Rural water, 31% compared to 20% last year. And their deadline is June 15th, so it's passed. Property taxes, 24, just about 25% compared to 20% in 2017. And July 3rd is the property tax deadline. Planning and development, there's A few things going on. The Wibbit proposal is still with the province on lease approvals, working on subdivision at Brayburn, and working with the applicant, operational services, and the town's engineer on engineering drawings. Also anticipate rezoning application for the ALR exclusion at property at Lobelia for single-family home development. In terms of other projects, the town center renewal plan kicked off on June 13th with meeting of the Task Force Council and the public. Next meeting will be scheduled for late July. And the draft urban forestry plan has been received and initial comments are being provided to the consultant. The plan will be coming to council in July for review and comment. Building permits, 34 building permits to date this year, valued at $6.16 million. So I think the numbers were switched around. In terms of public works, 48 sidewalk trip hazards, which were previously identified by this Safe Sidewalks Canada on the north side of Highway 3 between the bridge and Cottonwood Drive and along Cottonwood Drive itself, were remediated. We continue to clean up the beach areas and trails along the lake after the flooding event. Line painting is in process. Following projects were put out to tender: 89th Kingfisher Avenue realignment, 62nd Avenue reconstruction, purchase of a 3/4 pickup truck, and purchase of a multi-purpose tractor. Aerator installation on cell 3, that work is starting, and fencing at the dog park has partially been installed. In terms of myself, I'm here someplace. We had a union management meeting to just discuss some future policy directions that we would like to work on cooperatively. It was a very positive meeting, and we'll be discussing them to more directors, and something that we'll probably be bringing to council here in the near future. Considerable amount of time with the temporary housing camp agreement development, town center renewal meetings with consultants and council task force and evening meeting. Attended the annual RMI, the Resort Municipality Initiative Administration meeting, and discussed various topics of interest to all the resort municipalities, including cannabis legislation implementation, project updates from the province on the program, update from Destination BC on planning projects. And we had quite a good turnout from the province. We had the Assistant Deputy Minister there. We had the Executive Director from Destination BC, as well as 2 staff members as well. So that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. Could we have a motion to receive the report, please? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor? Thank you. And we'll go down to councillor reports, and that will be Councillor Rhodes, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCord. If I'm going to pass, I can only report out once a day, so I already did that.
All right, and you did it well before. So, Councillor King.
Just a couple of comments. Attended the open house for the revitalization of downtown. A little discouraging that no businesses are there, but there was a lot of good input from the people that were there, and also had some fun on, I think it was the 6th of June at Tim Hortons. Volunteered my time for their day of fundraising for kids to go to camp. So that was a great thing.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Youngberg.
Yes, greetings from Nova Scotia, from Halifax. I was actually I brought all of you those yellow hats that Mike and I had. We proudly wore at the table of lobster eating. They're the renowned rain hats for the Nova Scotians. Anyways, the conference was great. We had a great workshop put together by 5 communities on rental municipalities creating rental housing and affordable housing. Working with federal and funds and Canada Mortgage and Housing was very productive, and got some input for our planning department, I hope, as well as the cannabis new, I guess it's guidelines, or it's a handout that municipalities get. And that was a very helpful handout. It sort of capitalized a few things that were constant questions with everybody in the room, and that was a real good seminar as well. Together, I think overall it's networking, and we just it was much more productive this year than it was last year.
Hmm.
So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I attended FCM as well. Some of the things that stood out were infrastructure planning and investment, cannabis legislation. Now, one that stood out to me was accessibility in regards to human rights, which isn't one of the ways we usually look at things when we're looking at accessibility in our communities and what the rights of our residents are or should be. So I've got that information that I will bring to Mayor and CAO. I agree it was a better conference than last year. I think the venue was better. And I think it was less spread out as well. The one in Ottawa, we're in multiple different places, and the idea of it being in one place meant that the gathering and networking was constant with a wide array of people, so I enjoyed that. I am going to go off on a little rant of frustration with our community engagement in what we do here as an administration and council. And, you know, we go through a process with a town centre revitalization, a very thoughtful process, a very methodical process. And we ended up with a committee that, to me, is one of the best committees I've seen or worked with since I've been on this council, as far as their input, their passion for their ideas. And, you know, you constantly, if you're on social media, read people complaining. And some of the complaints are around some things that are considered minor, small frustrations, things of that nature. But one of the things you always hear is, why didn't they ask the public? Why didn't they come to the community and ask us? Why were these decisions made without us? Yet every time I see an opportunity for that level of engagement, like the open house we held last week for the town center revitalization, not one stakeholder, or maybe one, I think, a realtor, but no stakeholder showed up. Two? Oh, yeah, I guess you're a stakeholder. Almost no stakeholders showed up to give input or to hear the ideas that were being brought forward to be part of that process. Similarly, when we have an AGM or a budget meeting, the level of engagement from the community is almost none, yet the amount of complaining I see on social media about the lack of communication, the lack of knowledge on their part of the things we're doing is astounding. So I've showed my frustration in the past in social media. I'll make the statement I just made that it's disappointing and won't engage any further online because I think it all comes back to the fact that it's easier to find outrage and look for ways to be inconvenienced and play victim. But I sit here knowing that this particular council gives a ton of opportunity for public input and a ton of transparency. So that's my rant and that's my report.
Thank you. Well, we didn't get one from CJ,
No,
so
I had
we
to
got
make
it
up
from
for
you.
it.
Thank you. Couple of things that I had. I sort of ditto what everybody else has said because we were at the Town Centre Renewal Action Plan and at Tim Hortons, and so we seem to get around to all of these things in town. I just wanted to say that Music in the Park starts next week on the 29th of June, and that will be the first one for the season, and it goes to the end of August. Also, July 1st, Cherry Fiesta. It's the 70th anniversary of Cherry Fiesta, and that is on Sunday, July the 1st. And please make sure that you come down for the parade, the pancake breakfast, all of the music, all of the events that are down there, the beer gardens, and of course the fireworks at the end. And so we want people to make sure that at this time of year that they plan where they're going, when they're going, because people always say, oh, it's way too busy in town. There's so many cars on the road, I can't go anywhere. So plan when you go shopping, where you're going, and don't try and get onto Main Street and turn left. That was what I would say. So we want people to enjoy the visitors that are here. They provide all kinds of money for our motels, our restaurants, our stores, so we encourage them to be here. It's just a little busier in town for the locals that are used to having it sort of a little quieter. So you will see council on July the 1st. I sent you guys an email. So I'm hoping you'll all be there. The other thing that I went to on June 6th, and Councillor Campbell was there, was the School District 53 meeting. It was up at Osoyoos Secondary School, and there was a report from the Osoyoos Elementary School of what they had done this year and a little bit about what they were planning for next year, and also a report from Osoyoos Secondary, what had worked well. They had 2 new principal and a vice principal this year, and what they're planning for next year. So I was very impressed with their vision and what they're planning to do. And one more thing, when I was at the regional district meeting last week, Superintendent DeYager from the RCMP was there, and he did talk to all of us about the issues with the RCMP in the area, what things were working, why some numbers were a little higher, and there's an article in the paper this week in the Osoyoos Times about this as well. But 2 things really that I wrote down that I really thought made sense, and they're very easy for everybody to do. Don't phone the police and say, my wallet was stolen out of my car, if you haven't taken the time to lock your car, number one, and not leave things visible on your seats or in the trunk. So just the physical locking of your car makes quite a difference. And the other thing is that if you have quads or good bikes or motorcycles, please make sure that you write down the serial numbers, because Superintendent DeYager said quite often they will find things in their course of their business, but they have no idea who to return it to because there's no record of serial numbers. So those 2 things alone should make us all a little bit safer and look after your property. So enjoy summer, because it's here with a vengeance, and enjoy July the 1st, and don't forget to pay your taxes. So could we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thanks, everybody.